So this is the topic. You can read it, and I will save time. In the ongoing discourse on translation, it seems almost obligatory, not only professionally and technologically, but to some extent also politically, to engage the topic of artificial intelligence, or AI for short. As AI-powered tools and applications rapidly transform the landscape of translation, the global enthusiasm for the role of AI is palpable and, of course, well-deserved. However, amid this widespread excitement, it is prudent to pause a little bit on our way forward and reflect on some of the fundamental questions which may be overshadowed by the AI in translation fervor. My paper seeks to explore how we can balance our appreciation of AI's transformative role with a deeper understanding of the core principles of translation. The central thesis of the dialectical position that I hope to deliver is that it is crucial neither to underestimate nor overestimate AI's impact on human translation. The purpose of the paper is to ascertain which aspects of translation remain constant and which evolve in response to the power of AI. As we all know, the power and the charm of AI lie in its immense capability of mimicking and uplifting the cognitive functions of humans, such as learning, reasoning, and problem solving. The benefits it creates are multidimensional, including increased work efficiency and reduced costs in the productive and economic sense. Undoubtedly, AI's foremost contribution to translation is its highly enhanced work efficiency, empowered by large language model-based machine learning and algorithms. AI-driven MT is able to understand and replicate the nuances of human language and can speedily translate text, speech, and even visual content with remarkable accuracy, facilitating real-time communication across language barriers. Such AI translation tools, as I'm to cite here in this table, are doing great services to international business, diplomacy, education, and travel, allowing for real-time interaction between speakers of different languages. Not only does this cater to the diverse needs of users and serve multiple purposes, but also it opens up new possibilities and opportunities for international exchange and for collaborative innovation on a global scale. Clearly, this enthusiasm is well-founded. Such AI-powered MT tools as Google Translate, you will see this in the table, Google Translate, Baidu Translate, ChatGPT, and more recently, DeepSeek, can produce outputs that often surpass the expectations of lay users. AI-driven translation models, particularly those based on neural works, have refined the machine's ability to understand context, syntax, and even idiomatic expressions. However, despite these very impressive technological advancements, it is equally important to recognize the limitations and underlying issues associated with AI translation. As we all know, the translation is not merely about converting words from one language to another. It is an interpretive act deeply rooted in cultural, emotional, and contextual nuances, an activity that involves not only linguistic matters, but also the need for considerations of ideological, socio-political matters and beyond. While AI systems can analyze a vast amount of linguistic data and cope with various sorts of patterns, they often struggle with idiomatic language, humor, cultural references, ideological and political sensitivity, as well as the subtleties of human emotions in general. One of the most significant challenges in AI translation is dealing with linguistic and cultural ambiguity and context-dependent meaning. Human languages are inherently complex, with words and phrases often carrying multiple layers of meaning and interpretation. At present, AI systems, in spite of their sophistication, are still not quite fully able to understand these deep layers of meaning. As a result, the human translator's role remains indispensable in refining and accepting machine-generated translations. Also, excessive reliance on AI-powered translation may result in the gradual decline of translation skills and even basic translation competence of the translation practitioner. Because people may say, if AI translation tools are becoming so powerful and efficient, why the need to train the costly human translator? This, in fact, means to drastically reduce demand on the need for creativity, critical thinking, cultural and stylistic sensitivity, and even linguistic proficiency on the part of the human translator. Hence, there are worries about the future of translation as a profession being put in jeopardy, and the craft of translating by humans to eventually completely disappear. In order that this will not happen, it is important that we take timely measures to prevent it from happening. Assuming a correct, dialectically balanced attitude towards how we understand the relations between technological advances in translation and the fundamental principles of translation is what I have in mind today in this connection. Dialectics is, as a method of inquiry, is about analyzing opposing forces and ideas in order to arrive at a more comprehensive and dynamically balanced understanding of a given subject. Applied to translation, a dialectical perspective involves recognizing both those elements of translation that remain constant and those that evolve in response to the operational and technological shifts in AI-driven MT practices, such as the degree of automation associated with translation, the boundaries between trained professionals and untrained non-professionals of translation, and so on and so forth. Further, a dialectical perspective on translation would not encourage adoption of an extremist position on the merits and limits of the technologies of translation. Instead of treating AI as an unwelcome threat to human translation or as an ultimate solution to all problems encountered, a dialectical approach renders full recognition of AI's amazing role and power in fulfilling translation tasks, while at the same time remaining vigilant of the possible limitations of any translating machine, including those powered by those most advanced AI systems the world may have so far been able to see, such as those of ChatGPT and DeepSeek. As we can all easily see, the most significant change to translation brought about by AI applications is the speed at which translations can be made. A second major change is the collaborative nature of translation. In the age of AI, the translation or solitary work of a human translator has increasingly shifted towards a hybrid model of the translation process in which human expertise is combined with AI-powered MT applications. Because of the amazing capabilities of AI, the boundaries have also much blurred between professional and non-professional translation. For example, with the widely available translation tools and applications, people with no formal education or training in the skills and craft of translation can today produce understandable, often quite good translations in real time. Whether the one who handles the AI-driven MT device is a professional translator or just someone who has had no formal training in translation at all, the output from the machine is the same. For sure, the trained translation professional may be in a professionally more capable position than the non-professional in judging the quality of the machine-made translation product, and or provide whatever necessary post-editing to the initial MT draft, so that the final output would be of a higher quality. But insofar as the machine part of the translation process is concerned, there is definitely no difference at all in who handles the machine, whether it's a professional or non-professional. This blurring of the boundaries between professional and non-professional translators then entails further AI technologies affected variable. Due to the remarkable progress in the field of AI-enabled translation technologies, there seems to be less need for translators to engage in creative thinking, to exercise stylistic sensitivity, and to strive for greater linguistic capability and cultural diversity. This apparently leads to a looming threat of the future of translation as a profession. No doubt, translators, translation teachers, and educators, as well as TS researchers, must not turn a blind eye. Our sign interpreters, this is a physically demanding job. Thank you very much for your work. Will not turn a blind eye to this threat. But on the other hand, they should not panic either. Instead, they should try and overcome the threat by fully recognizing the existence and by carrying out pedagogical reforms in the translation classroom. But before we move further on to this issue, it is important to examine what we regard as the fundamental aspects of translation that remain change-resistant. First, I refer to the fundamental translational principle of equivalence. As I see it, I see the problem of equivalence, or the issue of equivalence. Achieving equivalence constitutes a necessary condition for translation, despite there being many voices to dismiss equivalence as a necessary condition for translation, such as from scopus theorists who primarily focus on the translational purpose, the scopus, and the culturalists whose priority consists in the requirements of the target culture. I express firm commitment to regarding equivalence or translational faithfulness as one of the most fundamental principles for translation. For without the target text being an equivalent to its source text, at least in some ways, the given target text cannot be considered a justifiable translation. In addition to the principle of equivalence, there are a series of other aspects of translation that remain fundamentally change-resistant. For example, when viewed from the philosophical perspective, translation is inherently an act of meaning-making or meaning-remaking that requires human cognitive and cultural mediation. Besides such elements in ethical considerations, the translator's voice, the need for critical human judgment, are enduring aspects that resist technological substitution. No matter how advanced AI-powered machines may be, they are not likely intentional, innovative, and independent thinkers as human translators as a whole, especially with regard to handling ethical issues, making value-based judgments about how best to translate very sensitive texts. Furthermore, translation as an art form persists despite technological changes. Literary translation, for example, requires creative intuition, cultural sensitivity, and aesthetic judgment, which are all qualities that AI cannot fully replicate. The three sets of examples I'm going to present here may serve to show how these qualities may be something that AI cannot fully match or overtake, at least not as yet. Example one, the first example, is taken from Modern History of Translated Image Journalism. The original, the source text was written by Han Congyao and other writers. For the Chinese speakers in our audiences, you can just read the Chinese to save time and not read this. Those people of us who do not speak Chinese, read one of the translations, the one produced by ChatGPT, for you to just to understand what is there in the Chinese original. I just read it. This is more or less a literal translation. I will explain later. The story of the three laughters of a tiger stream, 虎溪三笑. The monk resided at Mount Lu and made it a rule never to see his guests past Tiger Stream. One day, when Tao Yuanming, and Lu Xiujing came to visit him, they conversed so harmoniously that, absorbed in their discussion, the monk inadvertently accompanied the guests beyond the stream. Realizing this, the three burst into laughter together. This moment was later immortalized in the famous painting, The Three Laughters. Here, noteworthy is the translation of 虎溪三笑图, the two phrases, for which ChatGPT gives the three laughters at Tiger Stream, and the famous painting, The Three Laughters, respectively. DeepSeek produces the three laughs at Tiger Brook and the famous three laughs painting. Though the former uses the three laughters, while the latter uses three laughs, the designative meaning of both translations is the same. No, three laughs or three peals of laughter. By the way, the word in ChatGPT, produced by ChatGPT, laughters, as provided there, is not quite right grammatically, because in English, this is laughter is an uncountable noun. Normally, shouldn't appear in its plural form. So ChatGPT gives us three laughters. It's grammatically not quite right, I think. However, this is not our concern. Our concern is with the translation of the three laughters or laughs and the three laughters or laughter, a laugh painting. The two Chinese expressions refer to a culturally significant motif in Chinese literature and painting, where the eminent monk Hui Yuan, the Taoist Lu Xiujing, and the poet Tao Yuanming, symbolizing the harmony of China's three major doctrines of Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism, conversed cheerfully at Tiger Creek at Lushan Mountain. So the so-called San Xiao here specifically denotes the shared laughter of the three scholars, rather than denoting someone laughing three times. This is the translation by by the human translator, is by me. This is the translation in English. What I want to say is, now, perhaps in terms of the actual meaning, the three laughs or three laughters are really wrong interpretations of the original, because it is it is a scene, you can see from the painting, the three people laughed together, they burst into laughter at the same time. So it's not three laughters or three laughs or three peals of laughter. It's just three people laughing together. The three people laughed all at the same time. The second example is taken from Romance of the Three Kingdoms. The Chinese, 话说天下大事，分久必合，合久必分. In terms of the overall situation in the world, after long division, there must be unity. After long unity, there must be division again. This is again produced by ChatGPT. In this set of translation, for the Chinese original, the approaches adopted by the first, ChatGPT, the machine, and by DeepSeek, are basically the same, translating the ST word for word or line for line. In contrast, if we look at here, translation 3, or TT2C, that is the third translation, the third version. This is a quotation I quoted, as I say, the Foreign Secretary of the UK in his speech made in 2023. The English version changes to not the machine translation piece. What he says is, empires wax and wane, states cleave and sunder and coalesce. This is not quite the same as the original Chinese phrase, 分久必合，合久必分. Literally, 分久必合，合久必分. Literally, non-divided must unite. Non-united must divide. However, in terms of the overall effect and the aesthetic resonance evoked in English, in an English context, the translation, given by the Foreign Secretary of the UK seems very much on par with the impact of the Chinese original in the Chinese cultural environment. We have a third example. This is from English to Chinese. Again, we have two examples of translations made by the machines, ChatGPT and DeepSeek. This is part of a safety campaign encouraging passengers to report suspicious activity or unattended items to help maintain security on the transport network of the UK. At the end of the advertisement is the phrase, see it, say it, sort it. So when you see something that doesn't look right, speak to a member of staff or text the British Transport Police on 61016. That's 61016. We'll sort it. The last phrase is my major concern. See it, say it, sort it. And you look at the Chinese translations. ChatGPT 看到报告解决. Now, literally exactly the same as the original. DeepSeek 看到就说安全无忧. Slightly changed, slightly idiomatic, more idiomatic in the Chinese context to Chinese readers. But we're still not quite happy to it, so we would like to change to something different. For the phrase, see it, say it, sort it, translated, 一看二报三处理. This is the original and suggested translation by the human hand. 一看, now this pattern is not the same as the two machine-made translations, but especially to our Chinese speakers, you'll feel the difference and also the suitability of this type of language used in posts in advertisements. So the original, see it, say it, sort it. This is an artful use of alliteration. The English expression sounds witty. We can use these adjectives to describe it. Witty, catchy, snappy, and memorable. Obviously, the Chinese version provided by either ChatGPT or DeepSeek doesn't carry this same effect, although both versions are correct in their reproduction of the basic ST information. On the other hand, the given ST meaning and function seem to have been better achieved by the third version, okay? Where a formally different but functionally equivalent type of phraseology is adopted, which can in fact forcefully reproduce the ST's witty, catchy, snappy, and memorable effect in the target language setting. The dialectical approach to translating in the AI age suggests that we neither overestimate or underestimate AI's role in translation. Overestimate AI risks reducing translation to a purely mechanical process, ignoring the complexities of meaning-making and linguistic, cultural, and stylistic creativity and sensitivity. On the other hand, underestimating the role of AI results in disregarding the benefits of AI brought to the realm of translation, especially in terms of work efficiency, consistency in translational technicality, and the communicative accessibility in interlingual and intercultural contexts. Of the various major points that I want to raise here on how to balance the opposing elements encountered in translation, I single out three as the most noteworthy. The first concerns how to cope with the potential threat posed by AI to the teaching of translation as a profession. The dialectical approach I propose in coping with this threat is that we try and overcome it by fully recognizing its existence and by carrying out pedagogical reforms in response to it. Specific reforms concern all aspects of the provision of translational programs, including curricular design and classroom teaching. Take, for example, curricular designing. While emphasis in the conventional translation curricula is mostly, if not entirely, centered around the setting of courses of language, linguistics, and interlingual communication skills, the new emphasis should shift to the inclusion of a proportionally sufficient number of courses on AI-powered MT or AI-related topics. We're not doing too much elaboration on this to save time. Our discussion in translation teaching may be helped by an analogy to the teaching of arithmetic in the computer age. With the advent of calculators and computers, the emphasis in teaching arithmetic shifted from rote memorization of calculation, such as long division and multiplication tables, to understanding mathematical concepts, problem solving, and the appropriate use of technology. Similarly, with AI translation tools, the focus in teaching translation should shift from rote memorization of vocabulary and grammatical rules to understanding the nuances of language, cultural context, and the strategic use of AI tools. In addition to these points, there is also an important ethical issue for translating in the age of AI. On the one hand, it is unwise not to make good use of AI in doing and teaching or learning translation and pretend that only translation by the human hand is the reliable type of translation to use. On the other hand, it should also be a big mistake to entrust everything to AI or the translating machine without close supervision and regulation by the human translator. In the former case, there is the sad situation of humanity failing to enjoy the good benefits brought about by technological progress. Consequences of the latter are likely a situation where humans become more and more lazy and less creative, and in the end, completely stupid. The ultimate outcome of this all is a stagnation of the development of technology and the diminishing of AI itself. Furthermore, the ethics of translation is bound to involve such issues of translation data security, translation intellectual property, professional identity of the translator, and so on and so forth. All of these and other related issues are certainly important issues to consider in our efforts to find the balance between the variables and non-variables in translation in the AI age. I come to the conclusion. As we move forward in this age of AI and into a probably even more AI-powered future, it is important to not only recognize the amazing benefits resulting from AI, but also engage in timely reflection on what may make AI's development more meaningful. Our dialectical approach to the variables and constants in translation offers an important framework for understanding the power and impact of AI in the field. It encourages us to critically examine the challenges and changes brought about by AI while remaining firmly grounded in the enduring principles that define translation as a human and cultural activity, such as the need to adhere to the ideal of equivalence in translating, the human factors, meaning-making and interpretation, the ethical considerations, and the creativeness in decision-making. It is therefore possible to conclude that only by adopting such a balanced approach will we be able to navigate the complexities of translation in the age of AI with clarity and purpose, and to ensure that translation as a profession continues to evolve, to develop in ways that honor its rich history and integrity as an important contributing force behind the progress of human civilization as a whole. Thank you very much.